Good evening. You are looking at the moon as we have our Electron rocket ready on the launch pad at Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand as we prepare to launch our 68th Electron to space and second mission in less than 48 hours. It is T-minus 14 minutes, 16 seconds in the countdown to launch for Symphony In The Stars, a commercial mission headed to low Earth orbit with a single satellite on board. And my name is Muriel Baker. It is good to be with you.
And I'm Kim Thompson. It's great to be here with another Electron launch, this time from Pad B at our launch site. We are aiming for the first available opportunity within tonight's launch window at 7:08 p.m. local time or 07:08 UTC. Operations have been progressing smoothly throughout the day, and the weather has been cooperating nicely so far throughout the count and is expected to remain clear at T0.
Now, tonight, Electron is headed to a 650-kilometre low Earth orbit at a 96-degree inclination with the first of two satellites that we're flying this year across two dedicated missions for the satellite operator that is on board. It's also said to be part of our fastest launch turnaround yet from LC1. We were here just yesterday on the next pad over with the Get the Hawk Out of Here mission that launched at 5:28 a.m. yesterday. Now, counting down to launch tonight, set for 7:08 p.m. local time. We are just 13 minutes away from launching this back-to-back mission. And that means we are closing in on the go, no-go poll set to be run by tonight's launch director, Julia Wembacher.
We've got operators on console in two locations, our Range Control Centre on the Mahia Peninsula at the launch site and our Mission Control Centre here in Auckland. Tonight's mission is being led, as Muriel said, by our launch director, Julia Wembacher from MCC, and she's about to check in with each operator on their readiness for launch. From the stage operator monitoring the tanks and structures, avionics watching over Electron's electronic systems, to the range safety monitoring the range at LC1, it is integral for each team member to advise their final status. Let's hand it over to Julia and the team in Mission and Range Control and listen in.
And to all operators, LD and mission code, we are proceeding now with the go, no-go sequence. Stage.
Stages go.
Avionics.
Avionics is go.
GNC.
GNC is go.
Recon.
Recon is go.
T1.
T1 is go.
GC.
GC is go.
PLS.
PLS is go.
RSO.
RSO is go.
MET.
MET is go.
MM.
MM is go.
LD sub.
LD sub is go.
The go, no-go sequence is complete. We are currently T-minus 11 minutes and 17 seconds in counting. We are go for terminal count auto sequence at T-minus 10 minutes. From this time, the three-word procedure is in effect.
Well, that is exactly what we want to hear. Greens across the board from the launch operations team there. That poll confirms we are go for launch. Now, we have a 2-hour window of opportunity tonight, so if there is a hold for any reason in the remaining 10 minutes to launch, we have almost 2 hours to reset the clock.
Otherwise, time now to take you through our launch vehicle on the pad for tonight's mission. Electron is launching on a south-southwest trajectory from LC1 at a 96-degree inclination. And the rocket on your screen is our small lift carbon composite orbital launch vehicle capable of carrying up to 320 kilograms of payload. Electron stands at 18 metres or 59 feet tall and is made of carbon fibre reinforced polymer, otherwise known as carbon composite. And we use this material throughout the vehicle's first stage, second stage and fairing, as well as for the rocket's internal tanks and its payload platform, the kick stage, that's found within that nose cone.
Well, powering this rocket, we have two types of propulsion systems across Electron. Staying at the top of the rocket, it's our Curie propulsion system, which powers Electron's kick stage once we're in space. We designed it specifically to provide the kick stage with precise orbital insertion and manoeuvring capabilities for the payloads it carries, so that when we can reach each mission's desired orbit with high accuracy. The kick stage's operation is fully autonomous through its guidance and navigation system, which means Kuri can start up and shut down even while out of sight of global ground stations.
Now, the engine behind our main propulsion system across Electron's first and second stages is the Rutherford. We've got 9 of these on the bottom of the first stage and a 10th vacuum version with an expanded nozzle that is optimised for space on the second stage. Now, all versions of Rutherford run an electric pump-fed cycle that is controlled by batteries, and the engine uses liquid oxygen and kerosene for its propellant mix.
Yes, and it's that liquid oxygen, which is the reason why Electron has white stripes as it fuels up on the launch pad. It's where the propellant's super cold temperature causes moisture on the outside of the rocket to freeze. It's also a good level measure visually to know whether Electron's propellant tanks are full and ready for launch, which, judging by what we're looking at here and where the clock is in the countdown, tells us we're in the final moments of launch preparations before liftoff.
Stage LD mission code.
LD stage.
Please proceed with sequence 58, stage terminal checks.
Copy sequence 58 and work.
GCLD mission code.
LDGC.
Please proceed with sequence 59, launch pad ready.
Copy and work.
All pump.
Tonight's back-to-back launch will be our 10th Electron mission this year, the majority of which have been for satellite operators that are deploying the next generation of constellations to low Earth orbit. And we've been ramping up Electron's launch cadence to meet the demand for regular, reliable and dedicated access to space that lets those constellation operators launch when and to where exactly it is that they need to place their next satellite.
Here's why and how Electron has become the go-to for constellation deployment across multiple missions.
So this is where Electron really, comes into its own, as we're able to, take the spacecraft and the customer and build their constellation spacecraft by spacecraft and put them exactly where they need to be for the longest lifetime and the most effective economics. There's 2 ways to get to orbit. One way is through a rideshare where you agglomerate a bunch of spacecraft onto one rocket, and the other way is to go and do it in a dedicated fashion, more like Electron, where you put a singular spacecraft on the top of the rocket and you get it exactly to where you want to go. Now, the one thing that we've seen over time is that rideshare missions have proved really, really important for initial customers to go there and put one spacecraft on orbit and kind of get a proof of concept. And then after that, we find more often than not, they'll come to Rocket Lab and request a bulk buy of Electron launches in order to deploy their constellation. And what that means is that they're able to accurately place each one of those spacecraft exactly where they need to be to build that constellation in the most commercial manner possible.
You can think about it as kind of like an Uber service. So we'll customize our missions to suit the customer's needs. We launch when they need and to exactly where they need to go to. Any special requirements that they have, we'll even engineer new processes to make that happen. We've created new guidance algorithms to be able to launch some of our upcoming missions.
Yeah, we have a saying within Rocket Lab is once you fly Electron, you never go back. And that's proven to be true. Customers come to us because we have just such great control over the accuracy of the position of the spacecraft and great control over the timing. We can put the spacecraft exactly where it needs to be, exactly when it needs to be. So customers can build their constellations quickly with us and also very accurately.
If they're wanting to build up a constellation from scratch, a lot of customers have an orbital plane requirement. So we'd target a right ascension of the ascending node or longitude of the ascending node. So for any satellite or sets of satellites, we can get the spacing between them exactly how the customer wants.
Well, people care about dedicated because time is money. And deploying the constellation to exactly where it needs to be, over the area where the density of population or the density of services is super important. I think a lot of people think just space is space, but it absolutely is not. Every satellite has like a postcode, if you will. Every satellite has a place that it is ideally suited to be to provide the best service to everybody.
You can imagine that would be talking within kilometres, tens of kilometres when we're talking launching accuracy. When customers come with us, usually they request on apogee and perigee plus minus 15 kilometers and on inclination plus minus 0.15 degrees. What Electron usually achieves is actually within a couple of kilometers on the apogee and perigee, and on the inclination we're accurate to usually the second decimal place. Our best to date was for flight 50. On the apogee, we were 8 meters, the perigee 3 meters, and the inclination was plus minus 0 degrees.
We are looking forward to launching more satellites for more constellation customers as the year progresses.
Otherwise, a check-in on the clock, and we are now at T-minus 3 minutes, 49 seconds and counting to launch with Electron. So in just a few moments, the countdown will be covered by the rocket's onboard flight computer from T-minus 2 minutes. And then final checks are completed autonomously by Electron as it prepares for liftoff, though it will continue to receive liquid oxygen into its propellant tanks up until about T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds. We'll know that's been completed when we hear a call out from the mission control operator that the lock system is in recirculation.
After that, we should hear the call out that the rocket's first and second stages are fully pressurized for launch. And this happens around 30 seconds or so after LOX loading is complete. Then it's over to the 10-second countdown by our launch director, with Electron's Rutherford engines on the first stage set to ignite at T-minus 3 seconds. It's time to bring up the mission control audio channels now to hear our operators' call-outs live as they happen. So we'll be back with you after liftoff.
Lock the auto sequence and confirm.
Locked.
Then we can please confirm all flight computer ASCOs are green.
All ASCOs are green.
To all operators, we are go for auto sequence start at T-minus 2 minutes. LDs go for launch.
The vehicle is fully on internal power. FTS is green and enabled for flight.
LOX load is complete. System is in recirculation. Anti-geysering is disabled.
Stage 1 and Stage 2 tanks are pressed for flight.
High flow engine purge enabled.
T-minus 20 seconds and counting. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Electron has created that safe ground systems. Beginning pitch over.
Stage 1 propulsion nominal.
There goes our Electron rocket with a clean liftoff from LC1, now on its way to space for the 68th time. And we are steadily climbing in speed and altitude as Electron comes up to max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure. It's one of the first milestones the rocket has to pass through to get to low Earth orbit, and we're standing by for it now.
Approaching max Q. Cleared max Q.
All right, we are clear through max Q there as Electron continues onto space, and everything is looking nominal across the rocket's speed and altitude. Now that we're past max Q, the next milestones coming up are main engine cutoff on the booster and stage separation. So very soon we can expect to see all 9 Rutherford engines on the first stage power down and shut off in preparation for what comes next.
Just a couple of seconds after MECO, the first and second stages will separate to lose the dead weight of the first stage. And then the second stage Rutherford engine will ignite and power up to propel the second stage onward to orbit. And those events are now coming up very shortly.
Stage 1 propulsion holding nominal. Stand by for MECO in approximately 30 seconds.
"15 seconds till staging."
Entered burnout detect mode.
MECO confirmed.
Stage separation confirmed.
That was the sound of an electric pump-fed rocket engine in space. How cool. Thank you to our flight software team for that one. And a beautiful and clean second stage engine startup for Electron, nice and bright on your screen there. Electron's altitude is now more than 100 kilometers an hour, coming up quickly to the Kármán line as we hit more than 8,000 kilometers an hour on the speed dial.
Everything is going great so far with Electron. With MECO and stage separation cleared, next will be fairing jettison when Electron's nose cone separates and falls away. We might not see it at night, but we should hear it called out in mission control, so let's listen in.
Fairing jettison confirmed.
Nicely done. That's fairing separation confirmed across the nets as Electron continues on nominally. We are now at 130 kilometres in altitude and travelling more than 9,000 kilometres an hour. All is on track with the mission, with another 5 or so minutes to go of engine burn time for the second stage.
Guidance is looking good so far with the second stage. The plot lines for our planned and actual trajectory are closely matched on the right-hand side of your screen there, which is exactly what we want to see. And now that we are at T plus 4 minutes, 36 seconds into stage 2 flight, we have got just over 4.5 minutes left of engine burn time before we reach SECO and stage separation.
Well, coming up next for the second stage will be battery hot swap for that Rutherford engine. So every one of these engines uses an electric pump-fed cycle for its propulsion, with batteries used to power its electric motor. But the length of the engine burn time on stage 2 means that the battery pack it starts with will run dry before the engine is due for shutdown. So, Electron performs a manoeuvre called the battery hot swap, and that swaps in a fresh pack of batteries to keep the engine running for full duration. When that happens, you should see the first set of battery packs eject from the second stage and fall away, so let's watch out for that now.
HVB discharge holding nominal, approaching hot swap in roughly 30 seconds.
Throttling down.
Battery jettison confirmed.
Excellent call out there, and a clean battery hot swap on the second stage. The Rutherford is continuing to power the mission on past 198 kilometres in altitude at speeds of more than 1,600 kilometres an hour, coming up close to the orbital insertion speed for final stage separation in just a few minutes.
AFTS is saved.
All right, well, that glowing nozzle you can see on your screen is our Stage 2 engine, our vacuum-optimised Rutherford engine, powering Electron and its payload, now past 201 kilometres in altitude and 19,000 kilometres an hour. Okay, we are just moments away from the final stage separation between Stage 2 and Electron's kick stage, preceded, of course, by the shutdown of the Rutherford engine for SECO, or second engine cutoff. The Rutherford engine on the second stage will throttle down before shutting off completely to allow for clean separation of the stages.
From there, the kick stage will enter a coasting phase around the Earth before we light it up for payload deployment within the hour. But first, let's listen in for that SECO and stage separation call out from Mission Control.
SECO confirmed.
Stage separation confirmed.
And that is SECO confirmed by Mission Control, along with the kick stage also confirmed to have separated into a nominal transfer orbit with its payload. Well done to everyone involved in the mission so far.
Well, from here, we have a bit of a wait until we rejoin the kick stage and its satellite on the opposite side of the planet after its elliptical coast of Earth. Once that happens, the kick stage should be in the prime position to perform a course correction burn that sets its trajectory to a circular orbit for payload deployment.
Join us again then in about 40 minutes or so to see out the final moments of the mission. See you soon. Hello and welcome back as we head into the final few minutes of our Symphony in the Stars mission. We are preparing to deploy a single satellite to a 650-kilometre circular Earth orbit, and we are only a few moments away from that separation event on the kick stage.
We've otherwise had another nominal Electron launch this evening, lifting off from Launch Complex 1 at 7:08 p.m. local time. Now, after the kick stage was separated to its transfer orbit, we have been in a coast phase around Earth for the last 40 minutes or so. So up next is Curie engine ignition on the kick stage. Let's check in with Mission Control for the last few milestones.
Curie ignition confirmed.
There it is from Mission Control, successful Curie engine ignition. And so we heard from our GNC team earlier in the show about how Curie is responsible for our pinpoint payload deployment on orbit, within 10 metres of target sometimes, which in the expanse of space is incredible. Now, it's only small. It's no bigger than a coffee mug, like you can see here, but it is massively capable. And we can circularize orbits like we are doing today, but we can also perform orbital plane and inclination changes and leverage it to avoid tricky areas of solar radiation like the Van Allen belt.
It's also responsible for our re-entry missions with our Pioneer spacecraft. We've successfully executed 3 capsule re-entries, touching down once in Utah and twice in South Australia. Today is all about circularization, though. The Curie will burn for just under 2 minutes total, rounding out our orbit to a 650-kilometre perigee and a 650-kilometre apogee. Shortly after the engine shuts down, we'll be ready for payload deployment and the separation system will initiate, delivering our customer satellite to their desired location.
Curie cutoff confirmed.
Nominal final orbit achieved.
There we go. Everything went smoothly for Curie startup and shutdown, and now we are just moments away from payload deployment for this mission. So let's listen into Mission Control to hear that final milestone for Electron.
Payload deployment confirmed.
Mission success confirmed with payload deployment complete by the kick stage. That is music to our ears for this Symphony in the Stars mission. Congratulations to our customer for tonight's mission and all the best with satellite commissioning in the days to come.
To the Electron team, congratulations on launch number 68. It won't be long before we're back on the pad for our next mission with Electron, so keep your eyes on our website and social media for updates on the next launch and any other Rocket Lab news. Otherwise, thanks again for joining us for another Electron launch. Until next time, this is Rocket Lab Mission Control signing off.